What is going on, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Rob, and if you're new to the channel, this is my GR86 and we track the hell out of it. And based off of this thumbnail, you know why you clicked on this video. Just an FYI, I talk a lot in this video mainly to help answer some questions on if you should do an AccuSump. But there can be a lot of how should I say this? A lot of different opinions on the whole AccuSump and the oil starvations with these cars. But I've talked to a few different people and some companies. Clearly, there's data to support the oil starvation, the pressure drops, mainly turning right on track with sticky tires. Now, if you're new to this channel, my car's got a bunch of aero, 4-inch front splitter, canards, a hole in the hood, and a big Zebulon wing. It makes quite a bit of downforce, and it's on Hoosiers, so it's very sticky. And when that happens on track, a lot of G's, you turn right, oil goes left, fills up that head, kind of starves the pickup for, you know, very small moments, but in that moment, a lot of RPM, no oil pressure, wipes out the bearings. So I wanted to talk about why you might consider this, why I'm doing it, and then, you know, do you really need it? Is it necessary? And I guess it depends on who you talk to and what you're searching on the internet. Because I don't see how two people or experts can say, yes, you need it, and no, you don't. It's kind of like the whole, you know, health experts or doctors will say eggs are bad for you. And then you have experts and doctors saying eggs are good for you. Well, how could that be true? And it's kind of the same thing on the internet. You know, I say do your own research. You know, use some common sense, do the data, and go from there. So the Moroso Accumulator or AccuSump, why do you want that? Well, it serves as a as someone to come in clutch at the last second to kind of save your butt. And what I mean by that is that as oil starts to fall, the accumulator will come in and assist and supply that oil pressure or volume of oil to your motor. When it's running low, it comes in, and when it recovers, it backs off. I'll get into that more into this video when we get into the install. But is it really necessary for everybody? And I would say no, not at all. It's probably the last band-aid, because again, it's the fix isn't adding the AccuSump. The fix would probably be a better pan, a better pickup, maybe a baffle, or a better baffle. But I get it, it's hard, cost, packaging, stock header, clearance of how deep you can go, and you can't just swap a pickup on this car unless you pull the whole front of the motor off. And let's face it, we're not going to do that. At least I'm not. So what could we do before we get to the accumulator? First things I would do, if this was my car, I would buy it straight from the dealership. I would drive it right away, swap the oil. I would get rid of that 020 as soon as I can. That oil serves no protection. It's probably just a cheap crap oil. It's really meant for gas mileage. Now, I'm not trying to go down this huge rabbit hole because I get it. You want to see an install. It's pretty straightforward, but I get a lot of people who reach out to me and they're like, should we do it? Are you doing it? Why? Blah, blah. And it's like, all right, I'll make a video and I'll give you just my thoughts. I would swap out the 020 weight oil right away, whether you're tracking it or not. The manual says you can go 530. put a good synthetic 530. Just do it. I don't care what synthetic you run. Go to the auto parts store. Whatever good synthetic oil they have on sale that day, that's what you go with. Swap it out. Now, that solves one problem. It's just a better oil. It's thicker. Should give you a little bit more protection. Factory setup holds 5.3 quarts. Run an extra half a quart. Or if you want to just make it easy, get 6 quarts, pour all 6 quarts in there. Call it a day. Right there, just doing that alone, the overfill plus a better oil, is probably it's gonna work pretty damn good. Does it solve the issue? No, it helps. It's, again, another Band-Aid, but a good, cheap, and easy Band-Aid. Okay. Now you've been driving a car and you decided you want to track it a little bit more. You're getting pretty good. Stock tires suck, so you want to go faster. Okay, cool. Thicker oil, higher temps. If you don't want to put an oil cooler on the car, if it was my car and I saw 250, 260 cool down lap, that's just what I would do. I would add a cooler, keep the temps at bay, keep the pressure, the oil kind of thicker. We're not breaking it down. Color fittings, Jackson Racing, Perrin, I don't care. They all work pretty good. Just put a oil cooler on it. If you're tracking it, if you're not going to track it, don't worry about it. You start putting sticky tires on it, coilovers, you're getting good. And now we're starting to see some dips. I will say this, because I have it on my car, the next thing I would do is a baffle plate. And not just any baffle plate, it would be the Tomei baffle plate. At the time I'm making this video, it's probably the best Band-Aid as a baffle plate that we can run. It's a dual level. I'll post a picture somewhere. It's a multi-level plate, and it's gonna help maintain and keep that oil kind of where the pickup where it should be. Do the dips still exist? Sadly, they do. But it recovers faster and they're probably not as bad. So those are 2 things you can do. Well, 3 if you have the oil cooler. Overfill, plate, oil cooler. With that, I've been running it for a while. Knock on wood. As far as I know, my motor's good. I sent out the samples, Blackstone Labs, they say, you know, things are good. I'm waiting for it to come back. I personally run a 040 weight oil, or a 540, depending on the temperatures and stuff here in Florida, which this winter's been pretty chilly. I like it. So the dips still are there, very slightly. I'm actually, I'll show you here in a minute. I'm getting ready to pin a bypass harness to start logging the oil pressure, so now I have data. I see a little bit on the gauge, but it's not crazy. Like I see upper 60s through turn 17 at Sebring. It's a long right hand and it's bumpy. The car's sticky. G's, I don't know, maybe 1.5. I gotta look at that. I see it go from upper 60s to kind of low 40s and then comes back up. So that's 20-ish, call it 25 PSI drop. It's enough to say, okay, well, maybe we need to go into an AccuSump or the accumulator. And that's where we are today. All right, so let's get into the install. What do you need? Well, there's 2 different ways you can do it, or that there's a kit out there. Gosh, I'm gonna butcher this name. Is it Annex? That kit. He sells a kit or the brackets that hold a 2.5 quart AccuSump or 1.5. I went with the 1.5 due to I already overfilled the car and I don't want an extra 2+ quarts really getting in there. And you're not gonna need all 2.5 quarts or 1.5. There's a way, and you're not even gonna hold that much oil, but there's a way we can play with the discharge that allows it not to hold. And we'll get into that here in a bit. That kit also comes with the hardline and the fittings. I'm running the, what is this, a Canon electric solenoid valve. And I think that's it. Pretty simple. Oh, it comes with a switch. Life is busy for me. Got 2 kids, trying to train, work out, do jiu-jitsu, please the wife, got a newborn. So I try, if I can get 20-30 minutes to the car, I'm gonna try to do 20-30 minutes just to kind of get this stuff done. But I wanted to make a video because I believe this is a hot topic, and I'm gonna be honest, I wish YouTube would pay me a lot of money so I could keep buying cars or modifying or racing. So do me a favor right now, be a decent human being, like and subscribe. I know you're watching, just do it. Be nice for me. So, this is some of the wiring that I've been doing. This is, like I said, I'm pinning, well, I'm gonna pin this. This is kind of a mess in here because I've been wiring it, but this is to log oil pressure. This is the bypass harness. Don't worry about that, it has nothing to do with the kit. This red wire has everything to do with the kit. It goes down into there. Now there's a grommet going into the firewall here. You can, you know, cut it, slice it, drill a hole into it, I don't care. I moved it out of the way. These are the brackets. There's a left and right hand side. They're pretty cool, they're 3D printed, and that's what's gonna hold the actual accumulator. Over here, we have a ground wire from the battery to the chassis. You can find a ground wherever. There's actually the same bolt on that side, which is probably closer to the solenoid. Well, no, it is. But I can clearly just run this line straight across, tie it in. It's just, in my opinion, the better ground. You want to go and find another chassis ground or something for the motor, go for it. We need to ground it, and we need to power that red wire, and I'll show you how to do that now. All right, so I'm gonna do my best to show you underneath the dash. Very dark and very tight. So bear with me here. There's the grommet where the lines are coming in. Don't mind this. This is that bypass harness I'm working on. So, you know, don't worry about that. What we're looking at now, or hopefully you can see that. Obviously I'm pulling power from multiple spots. This is the fuse we're focused on. So, starting from up top, count 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's empty. You're gonna plug it in there. This one here is for the other gauge. This one here is going to power the electric solenoid. So it's gonna go, this is gonna go to the switch where I'm gonna show you in a second, and then that wire going out is going to supply power to the solenoid. All right, so let's get into the install. Now I already made the adjustments for the bracket to hold this accumulator. It says here, place clamp here on both sides. The reason why this is so important is that if you were to crimp or use any type of pressure here, well, there's a diaphragm or a piston that goes back and forth, and if you start to squeeze and clamp down on that, that force could probably, you know, choke up or stop the piston from moving freely. So it's super important we go where it tells you. This takes some time to finagle. I know it did for me. There's different ways, you know, you can slide these forward, rotate them up and down. Right now, the way I have it, I clear everywhere. So we're gonna take a flathead screwdriver, tighten all this stuff up, and call it a day. A little bonus you can do, you can apply some type of tape where the other hose clamps go that hook up to this bar, and to protect it from scratching and stuff. Right here. All right, I'm gonna pull the intake off. One, because you have to. Because I'm gonna install this fitting first. Pull off. Here's another thing. I got the Killer Bee catch can here, and it's gonna be a lot of things going on in here. Hopefully, it should work, I hope. This intake is bolted, but it's bolted in front of the inside this bumper, so I can't unscrew it, so it's gonna stay here. Hopefully I don't have any problems with it. Yeah, would you look at that? Any oil? No. Catch can's doing its job. That's one thing with an overfill. Too much oil, you just suck it into the motor. Nothing in the throttle body. But all right, here's the oil pressure sensor. I don't know how well you can see that. Let me move. All right, anyway, there's the sensor here. I'm gonna pop that off. Ooh, and I think that is a 15, 16. And really close to the harness here, throttle body, I don't know. I don't know if I'll be able to put a socket on there or not. But this is a 17 mil, I believe. Oh, damn, watch your fingers. Yeah, oh, you can't see with the light, but that's the hole, not that little guy, the big guy. All right, so we got that out. We're going to be screwing this into the block. Now it has a crush washer, so I don't believe you need to add any Teflon. I don't know if it would hurt if you did it, but it doesn't say to do it. So I'm gonna treat it like a drain plug. And this is a 15/16. It's here. Real tight. Or it's snug. It's just tied around close to this harness. Will it clear the reservoir? I don't know, boys and girls. I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze here. Nope. Just to kind of give you an idea what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to connect this hose to this fitting just to keep that ball valve, that manual ball valve. Looks like it's got to come out. And just too close for comfort. The bench is too much, plus this master cylinder's there for the brakes. So we're gonna pull it all out, tape it up, send it on its way. All right, so I'm gonna pull these fittings off, tape them up. To pull that fitting off, I'm gonna use this like little strap that will hopefully remove this fitting here, because it's a pain to hold it and try to loosen it. I can't do it. All right. There it goes. Good God. Okay, it's pretty tight. Now we just gotta wire it up and make sure it works. Alright, so I have it temporary wired up because I'm going to test it to make sure everything works. So you don't hear anything with the switch. Accessories. Wait for it to stop beeping. See if we can hear anything now. Nope. You just heard it there. That's on. I'm shutting it off. Off. On. Off. On. What happens when I shut it off? Sweet. Switch works. Alright, so what I have to do is unscrew this plug and screw in this sensor, but I'm gonna have to loosen it because this is where it gets really close. So I have to rotate it slightly. What I'm gonna do eventually, I'm gonna take a line and I'm gonna hook something up here so that line's gonna come off the block and you're gonna have all the feeds coming here. So everything's away from the belt because eventually when we go boosted, I'm gonna need another oil supply, which I can go on the very bottom, but then now everything kind of gets wonky. It's real tight and close. If I put something over here, I just run the lines, run all my sensors here to this little block that I'm gonna put. But for now, we're gonna unscrew that, screw in this guy. If this is the right size, it looks like it is. One thing that I forgot as I was removing the plug to hook up the oil pressure sensor, I forgot to put the plug in the solenoid and it's upside down. So I have to remove the hose, loosen the clamps. I'm just gonna rotate the accumulator, install this guy, clamp it all down, hook up the hose. Okay. Tight. All right. This is on. That fitting's on. This fitting's tight. That fitting's tight. We gotta hook up the intake. We will do that now. The harness is plugged in, it's out of the way. Everything looks good here, as far as I can tell. I'm going to, hopefully, the catch can will still fit. Plug in this. And if you're wondering, is the catch can in the way? No, which is nice. But when I did install this, I did have to trim this hose up a little bit. We got this out of the way. All right, so we're going to start it, let it run for a few seconds, shut it off and make sure there's no leaks. And if there's no leaks, I will switch on the AccuSump. So actually I will turn this camera around to look at the oil pressure here. All right, we made quite a bit of pressure. Nothing that I can see there. Nothing that I can see there. Looking good. And no leaks there. So feels good. I might have to loosen that down to bring this down. This wasn't that high. So I'll do that really quick because it's probably gonna rub on the hood somewhere. Technically this is on, so I'm going to shut it off. Hopefully it's off, we'll see. That's where it's making pressure. Let me shut it off. Huh, it's not doing anything. The switch is messed up. Alright, so apparently when I thought I was switching it off, I was switching it on. Because I have a bunch of oil pressure inside the sump, 120 psi. So there's that. So we're gonna see now. I'm going to turn the ignition on, see if it makes oil pressure before I start it. So kind of my mistake there. I thought, you know, flipping the switch, when I heard that, you know, click, I thought it was turning it on, but I guess it was shutting it off. Anyway, that's a good sign because there's no leaks, but let's see how much oil pressure it makes now before I even turn the car on. All right, so I was having a small brain fart because I'm like, the switch works. I just checked it, it has power, but I'm like, I wanted the AccuSump off to check for leaks. But when I started it, I saw the line lift up and I'm like, oh boy, did it just fill up? You know, and just made pressure and kind of moved, and it did. And I'm pretty sure that solenoid's kind of like it acts like maybe like a check valve or a one-way in, so you can constantly fill and pressurize the AccuSump, but it won't discharge or open until you have the switch flipped. And I'm pretty sure what's going on because the power, ground, everything's working right, on off switch with the car, and it's holding 120 psi. But when I turn the car on accessories with the AccuSump off, it sits at 5 psi. When I flip the switch, and it starts to go up to like 60 psi before I can start it, which is pretty neat. A lot of your wear and tear is at startup. Now with this AccuSump, I can flip a switch, make oil pressure, especially my car. It just sees track time. It sits for weeks and before it even starts up. Here, I can flip the switch, make oil pressure, and give it a start. Couple things I want to talk about the pre-charge for your AccuSump. Discharge pressure. So all this thing is doing, it has pressure inside the AccuSump. One side of the piston has air, the other side is oil. So you have oil pressure, air pressure. The more discharge or air pressure on the back of the piston, right? Let's just say like this is at 20. They recommend 5 to 10 to 15. But it really depends on your motor, your bearing clearances, stuff like that. Tighter motors probably want a little bit more oil pressure. So what's happening is you have air pressure, oil pressure, and they're trying to like equalize each other, you know, on each side of the piston. So if you have, let's say 10 psi of discharge pressure, you're gonna have, you know, that oil pressure is gonna overcome, you know, because we're making 110 psi, and it's going to fill that canister up full of oil. When your oil pressure starts to drop, this is just going to, you know, discharge oil volume, not so much pressure, but it's just gonna fill the motor up with oil, and it'll make its pressure. So at 10 psi, it's squeezing, it's pushing that oil out, you know, slowly. I don't know how fast. But let's just say you're at 20 psi. So if you're at 20 psi of discharge pressure, right? Now you're gonna have a little bit less oil in the canister because you have more air pressure on this side pushing against it. But when you start to lose oil pressure, that higher discharge will add the oil much faster. So that's what I'm doing. Some guys are 10. Well, I was gonna go to 30, but right now I'm at 20. And we'll keep it there. I'm gonna I gotta add that harness, that bypass harness, to start logging oil pressure. But so far so good. No leaks that I know about, but you know, we're gonna get it up to temp, get the oil nice and hot and see if there's any leaks, drive it around, yada, yada, yada. So that's that. I'm running 20 PSI discharge. Again, it's probably gonna, if that thing holds 1.5 quarts, the more air you put in that system, the less oil it's gonna hold. But the faster it's going to, you know, push oil into the motor. And that's kind of what I want. I don't care about having a bunch of oil slowly getting there. I care about having, you know, give me a quart, but give it to me right now, because when oil's low, I need it to recover fast. And because I already overfilled the motor slightly, I don't want it to just slowly dump in a little bit. And it probably won't dump a whole 2 or 1 quart unless you're just going around in circles at high G and you're just slowly, you know, losing pressure. Again, I'm just looking for a fast recovery time. Another thing too, the higher the pressure, the less time it's gonna take to recharge or refill that canister, right? If you have a little bit of PSI it's fighting against, it will fill it up sooner. But if you have more air behind that piston, it's gonna take a little bit longer to recover. And that's okay. I don't really need it to recover fast. But eventually it will, as soon as you get out of that dip, or it recovers real fast, or you go left or straight or off, whatever it is. Again, I only see a small issue at Sebring. Turn 17, if you've been through it, it's bumpy, it's long, it's fun. But I do see dips there towards the exit end of 17. And hopefully this will recover it quick. You know, dump in the volume, bring up the pressure, and we should be good to go. I just got my diff, trans, and oil results back from Blackstone Labs. I'll make another video about this because, man, this video has been going on way too long. If you made it this far, man, thank you guys so much. Please, it means a lot, you know, just liking it, subscribing, you know, watching me, commenting. Any questions, let me know. And oh, actually, before we end the video, let me show you what it looks like when we make oil pressure before we start the car. We're at 5 PSI. I'm gonna turn on the accessories here. So now the switch has power. I'm still only seeing 5 PSI. Hopefully you guys can see that. I'm gonna flip the switch. Oh, look at that. 30 PSI. Just like that. Obviously I killed the switch and pressure is dropping because the AccuSump is not, or the accumulator is not dumping in oil. We'll do that one more time. On. Off. Obviously it's probably draining the oil, so it's not making much, but still, I'll take 30, 40 PSI at startup any day, especially when the car's been sitting for a while. And with logging oil pressure and stuff on track, maybe I'll bump it up to 30 on the discharge side to see if I can reduce, you know, pressure drop. Oh, and before I forget, I always run an easy quart overfill, so that quart's probably sitting in the AccuSump accumulator. So you definitely want to check your oil once it's filled up. You know, top it off. I'm still probably, I mean, I probably won't go as high now because I just don't want to dump so much oil into the motor. I'll probably still be I would say maybe a 1/4 inch over the full mark. So that's kind of what I'm going to do. I'll keep you guys updated. But I mean, that's it. If you were at a normal level, I would have added another quart, started it to fill the AccuSump, maybe even more, and just check your levels. That's all. And that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you hopefully in Homestead in a couple weeks. We have a night event, but I'm waiting for a couple other guys to see if they can make it. I'm gonna try to go because I want to test this. Plus, I've never been on track at night. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.